Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty, back with the letter. So we have done pretty much Soul Survivor endings for everyone, except for, I guess, Hana. I don't know if Hana can even survive, but we are going to experiment a little with some things I have heard about this, and our first step will be to once again have Isabella stay home. This is after Rose's death, but this time we are going to meet up with Rebecca. Perhaps it's better to talk to Becca about this in person, not over the phone and when I'm calm. Got so many journal entries. Nothing new though. It's not late. It's not too late. She might still listen to a reasonable explanation.
Okay. I'll meet you after school. So long as you don't make me pay, okay? I've already treated you to free food the other day.
You know I'm not like that. If there's anyone who should be complaining here, it's me.
But promise me you'll stay safe, alright?
What's gotten into you? I don't think that's necessary, considering I'll be at school the whole day. I'll wait for you here, understood? Don't be late. I can only stay until...
Promise me. If something bad happens, you'll run and...
The Luxbon Police Department continues its search for the following reported missing people.
I lift the phone away from my ears and turn my attention to the news. Never mind that Becca's still on the line. These faces. Hold on a second. Missing, aren't they?
Becca, I'll call you back. There's something I have to look up.
Wait, Isabella, what are you...
Frantic, I press the end call button and open my laptop. My tapping of my fingers against the keys fills the room for the rest of the day as I look through everything. The background about the place, its history from the current owners, and the list of employees hired under BRC. And I'm right. Of course I am. PRC may have a lot of staff, they may have a lot of agents hired, but I remember those names anywhere. After all, they're part of the crew who worked with us in preparing the mansion for the open house. Still, I've got to check. One by one, call after call, I go through each person missing on the list. This isn't anything illegal, right? I'm just someone concerned for a fellow coworker. The night is fallen by the time I've gone through the whole thing. They're gone. They're really gone. No one knows where, but they're gone. Then the letters... That can't be. I hope it's not what I'm thinking.
But Rose is...
Something snaps into place in the fraction of a moment. These people and Rose...
I need to tell someone.
They need to know. Ash. Zach. Becca. That's right. We agreed to meet. She needs to know. Of course. Of course. The letter, my phone, papers, anything that will be useful. I grab all of them and make a run for the nearest bus stop. I'm already late. Becca's me really annoyed at me, but maybe if I use the subway, I can still get to her before her patience snaps. As I run, I bring up my phone to my ear. Her number's already being dialed. Each ring's in sync with the quick tapping of my foot against the pavement, the sound taking away from the edge and agonizing weight. She's not answering. I turn to the nearest shortcut I know, a small street Becca has warned me to never take before. No lights, no other pedestrians passing by at this time of night. It's dangerous, but right now, I have to. If I want to fix this, I have to get to her. Reaching the crosswalk at the end of the short avenue is a relief. A little more and I'll be at the station once I get to the other side of the street. I talked to Rebecca girl, she'd agreed to meet her with dinner, but... My fingers fly over the keypad again in another attempt to call her. 5 seconds till the signs change. Please answer. 4 seconds. Becca's still not picking up. 3. I redial her number for the 3rd time. 2. Please, I beg of you. 1. My feet are already moving. And finally it connects. Help me. The world grinds to a halt. And when I look up, she's there. With the same misshapen face, tattered clothes, and unsightly gait. Her voice reaches out to me again, calling like every other time. Whispering, and whispering, drowning my ear with endless pleas and cries, gripping me with words I couldn't even begin to understand. There are shadows pulling at the edges of my vision, and the terror her presence brings wounds itself together on my legs, this time pinning me to the ground. Help me.
No! Enough! How can I possibly help you? I couldn't even help myself. Or the people I dragged into this!
She smiles, her lips contorting into something menacing. And right then and there, I understand the cutting anger in her eyes and the depth of the circumstances we found ourselves in. There is no escape. It is the last thing I see before my phone slips from my fingers and... Is that us? That doesn't look like us. That looks like somebody entirely different. Did our clothes just change color? So, Hana. I'm actually gonna pause here because I have to fix something. Okay, and we're back. We're playing as Hana. I went back and reloaded because that save file, I had showed them the letter, and I think I'm gonna go for a playthrough where I try and break Hana and Luke up and put Hana with someone else. So I didn't want to risk her being murdered, so I went back to do that. But we're gonna break her and Luke up. So we're gonna have her remain silent. And then I think we'll hook her up with Marianne, so we will free up our schedule.
But I guess we can free up a day to meet with you. I don't really need another maudlin Monday reading about Maury anyway. The book club can function without me for one day. What time shall we be seeing each other? How does lunch sound?
Besides, my house has higher priority over a book club. Why, we can hold the next meeting in this place. Surely the beauty and grandeur of it all will inspire spirited and lively debates about whether modern-day writers could match up to classics. I might as well clear up the rest of my week to handle whatever affairs buying this mansion requires of me. Any social activity can be put off until the Ermengarde, or rather, the Wright Mansion's grand debut. I'll have my fill of great parties and gatherings, especially when I organize them myself.
That sounds good. Although, with a project of this scope, we might need most of the day to tackle your concerns. A more thorough inspection of the place is also preferable.
Breakfast then! It's a date.
It's really not.
Alright, Monday. 10 o'clock sharp. We'll see you then.
Actually, Marianne suggested that we meet at 9. But who is even awake at that unholy hour? I was lucky enough to wake up this morning before Luke went all the way to Cardiff. Oh, here's us being sweet together. We haven't seen that scene in a long time.
Hiya! Come on now!
We're not going for Luke. I'll apologize for bringing it up. Where are we here? Nothing new. I felt guilty, uneasy even about bringing this topic up. This isn't the first time I brought it out there, considering we've been married for 7 years, but I should have learned my lesson. Talking about it has always gotten me disapproval. After all, this is one of the surefire ways to get Luke into a terrible mood.
I'm sorry, but I do think you...
Don't finish that sentence, Hana. Just don't. We know how this discussion ends. Let's not fight over what-ifs and if-onlys.
But what if we are going to have a family, Luke? What then?
I just told you. No what-ifs.
And we know she ends up pregnant, so... Although maybe she doesn't if we make them hate each other.
We won't talk about it until you're ready.
Let's not talk about it then. Ever.
The silence that follows is stifling. I avert my gaze from him, favoring the view of our four-poster bed over seeing his embittered expression. Just thinking of how insensitive I am for bringing it up makes me feel sick to my stomach. We stay still, neither of us dare to make the first move to leave. Until a crash from downstairs cuts through the tension.
Oh, bloody hell, what is it now? I can't get away for 10 minutes without someone mucking something up! That better not be what I think it is! I know it's only an 8 million yen vase, but I swear, I
don't stop him as he storms off, and he doesn't even bother to look my way. Yet I can still feel his eyes boring into me. Alone, as per usual. Oh, look at our babies. The right couple moved to their newly bought mansion today and was already preparing for a housewarming party. During a short break, the couple had a brief discussion about children. Luke didn't sound too welcome in the idea. The babies will get to exist happily in some timeline. Just not this one. And we don't want to get too close to Zachary either, so we're gonna pick the not romantic option with him. Continue teasing.
I was talking with Zachary.
We don't want to open the hatch. That'll get us possessed. Now we're gonna have our little talk with Marianne. And we're asking for her advice about a relationship. Be honest with me.
Be honest with me, Marianne. I don't need someone to sugarcoat it. I'm not some fragile thing that I'm just going to break down at the slightest thing.
She hesitates, taking a sip of her coffee while I stare into my own cup of tea. The silence stretches on, and I almost believe that she will never answer my question. I suppose that I shouldn't blame her, putting her in a tight spot like this. Her hesitation is understandable, though I loathe to admit it. She simply wants this whole thing to stay professional. But then she speaks.
If I'm going to be completely honest, I need to ask. This is about you and Mr. Wright, isn't it?
It's my turn to hesitate now. I really didn't expect such a straightforward question. And to get to the heart of the matter, I suppose I'm not as clever as I'd like to think. Or is it really that bad that an outsider can see our little marital troubles? Surely we aren't that obvious, are we? We've put up the act as a perfect couple for years, although it hasn't always been an act. Marianne is just more keen than the average person, of course. It is a necessity to her career, and she's been working so closely with us. Yes, that's it.
Suppose it is. What would you tell me?
Then, I tell you it's none of my business. I tell you that I don't want to meddle. But, if the troubled husband with the neglectful wife asked me for my honest opinion, I'd say that he shouldn't base his happiness and his self-worth on someone else. Someone who won't even give him the time of the day. Maybe he should try being independent for a while. See what it's like when he isn't trying to please someone else and doing things for himself. Everyone's supposed to be their own man or woman, right? A bit of breathing room never hurt anyone. That's just my 2 pence worth, of course.
So you're saying they should divorce?
Nothing as drastic as that. If they're afraid that it might lead to just that, then maybe that is what's meant to happen in the first place.
There's another bit of a loud voice. I don't know if it's the microphone picking up the voices, so we'll quiet Marianne down a bit.
We shouldn't let our fear control our lives.
She sounds just as loud to me.
But it's just a short hiatus is all. Or, couples therapy? Look, I'm really not the best person to ask about relationships. So grain of salt and all that.
She trails off, having said her piece, and leaves nothing but the smell of coffee and Earl Grey between us. There is a calm despite the nature of what has just been discussed. To say that her words make me start to think is an understatement. To say that I'm not considering her advice is a lie. And to say that this might just be the calm before the storm is a possibility. Others have had shorter marriages, yes, but plenty have celebrated long and happy ones as well. My own parents celebrated their choral anniversary before they passed away. But 7 years? 7 years isn't a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It isn't a whole lot of time to see what and where a relationship can bring us. And at the same time, 7 years. Well, it hasn't been entirely made up of unhappy years, has it? It won't last forever. It's not supposed to, anyway. I just dread the thought that it might last for a very long time. I dread the thought that these small spats, these little disagreements, will turn into all-out resentment. The idea that we will grow to hate each other with every fiber of our being scares me. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when our blissful union turns sour. We can get through this, right? I know that I do still love him, and I feel that there is still a part of him that loves me in return. We just need to get our heads together and talk it out. Surely he will see some sense. There is a cough before Marianne clears her throat. I must have been quiet for so long, and I move to apologize when she stands up. We both end up on our feet, unsure how to proceed. Some sort of odd, awkward shuffle occurs as we decide whether to sit back down or not.
I really should handle what's left of the work.
You won't be attending the party? Oh, you really must, Marianne.
I'll try to stay and chat. Maybe grab a few bites and a drink, but I can't be around for the entirety of the event. My apologies. Busy, busy, busy.
You must stay a while. I'd love for you to meet some of my friends, and they're ever so excited to meet you. You need to say hello to the Lees, at least. If it wasn't for them, I'd never even heard of you.
We'll see. So, if I can be excused?
Certainly. You'll have to excuse me as well. I must attend to the party before any early birds arrive, because, believe me, they will throw a fuss if things aren't ready, even when they're not supposed to be here until an hour later.
So I think we can start skipping. Preparing for the party. Everyone's showing up. Officer Lee's bothering us. Gonna have a talk with someone we knew when we were young, Rebecca. Tease her about Ash. Rochelle accuses Luke of being the father of her baby. It is now that Johannes returns with security along with a concerned-looking Officer Lee. They surround her and move to escort the hysterical woman. Judging by his pale face, he has heard the whole thing, and I feel nothing but pity for him.
I'm so sorry for her behaviour. She's been under a lot of stress. And the alcohol. Talking nonsense, that's all it is. You're not allowed to drink because of the baby, Shelley. What are you thinking?
Nothing to see here, people. Move along.
Is there really nothing but the ramblings of a drunk? Yes, that's right. There's no way that Rochelle says is true. What she says doesn't match up. I know Luke. If such a scandalous meeting are to be arranged, he wouldn't do it in such an exposed place, especially not near his precious flowers. And he definitely wouldn't promise responsibility over a child unless it could be helped. Besides, Luke would never. He would never go so far as to sleep with another woman, right? Okay, fine. Who am I kidding? If I am to be completely honest with myself, he might cheat. With a bit of temptation and a bit of alcohol, he just might. And doesn't that make my blood boil to even think of the slightest possibility of infidelity? Well, he wasn't too far off when he told me how Luke still acted like some young, hotshot bachelor. It starts to make me think. Perhaps a break is needed. Maybe Marianne had a point. Luke doesn't even know how to read our thoughts. If I'm frustrated, if I'm unhappy, maybe a break is needed. Some time apart might just be what the doctor ordered. Time apart to clear our heads and to think ourselves. For ourselves, or for myself to be exact. Because looking at this mess before me just brings me nothing but distress. I feel a bit nauseous actually now that I think about it. Luke's too busy making a scene to notice, and a concerned Becky pulls me to the side. She looks as disturbed as I am by this sudden turn of events. Probably not a big fan of drama. Definitely not used to it at any rate. Not surprising, as her parents were lovely yet simple people.
Hey, I figured you could use the save. You looked like you weren't doing too hot back there.
This is a new encounter.
Do we need to call a doctor or something?
Oh no, I'll just be needing some fresh air, that's all. Some help getting out of here would be much appreciated.
Is it the babies?
Sure, that won't be a problem. I wanted to get away from this drama too anyway. Hey, Zachary! Hey, Zach!
At the mention of his name, I can't help but seek him out in the crowd as he makes his way over. They know each other?
Becca! This is a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
If I am to assign a random number to dictate the odds of heaven, I'll say the odds are 1 out of 1,000. Aren't most of your acquaintances part of the rich group? It's just that it's been faked before to try and dupe me because of who I am and who I am married to. Right now, coincidence, I'm just grateful for the help. As long as this doesn't turn out to be a kidnapping anyway.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hannah. Did I not?
Yeah, you did. So this is what you called me for. We gonna get Hannah out of here?
I can see that they're friends. Not terribly close, they make quick work of getting us through the crowd. The people part because of Zachary's broad build, even if they wanted to approach me. If that isn't enough, Becky's pointed glares keep them at bay. We even make it out of the ballroom without any untoward incident. But judging by the commotion in the other room, the same cannot be said about the unexpected eviction. I really do need the fresh air. I need to be away from those noisy Parkers. I need to be away from Luke. This is a good start as any.
Hey, I gotta go back in there. Completely forgot my bag like an airhead, and I'll see if I can tag Ash on the way out. You'll be fine here, right, Hannah?
Not to worry, dearie. I'll just be right here.
Zach will be with you if you need anything.
Becky balks at the idea of going back into the ballroom. Anyone who hasn't yet would have realized I'm gone by now. And those busybodies will be gossiping about how I left the building with 2 unknowns. Along with what just transpired, stories both inaccurate and made up will spread by the night's end. It all matters very little in the grand scheme of things, of course. I won't even bother to try and quell them by returning to the fray. That leaves me with...
Zachary?
Yeah, you need something?
I was only going to say how nice it is to see you again.
Oh, okay.
I could see the tension in the line of his shoulders. Odd how awkward he is when this isn't our first meeting. We had met on professional terms, certainly, but I'd like to think I was friendly. Nonetheless, I do not push the issue about the apparent discomfort when we were left alone. Not right away, at any rate. I know my curiosity will get the better of me soon. Before I can say anything, however, he speaks up.
You okay there, Hannah? I mean, of course you're not okay after what happened in there. I mean, that was terrible, but you're not gonna just fall down and faint or anything, right?
I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. I should be asking you the same thing. I remember you being a lot more eloquent.
Oh yeah, I'm just not too good with staying too long in a crowded room or handling intense drama, you know. Sorry about my clothes. Didn't think there'd be a dress code. Not that I have anything that nice to wear to a shindig like this. I dig nice, small, simple parties, so this is a real doozy for me.
I think the character volume thing is off. I forgot to confirm it.
And do you host your own nice, small, and simple parties often?
Only when there's occasion, birthdays and stuff. Those are a lot more fun for me, and I can be a lot more selective about letting only the people I'm cool with attend, right?
I mean, I thought I was cool with Rochelle, and look what happened.
I get to pick the food, too. Of course, I make most of them myself. There's usually a dozen people or less, and all we really do is just hang out. Maybe do some grilling, karaoke, dancing, you know, the usual.
She doesn't know what any of those words mean.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. You sure you're alright? You aren't exactly being eloquent yourself, as you put it. You must have something you want to get off your chest.
I don't know, Zachary. What am I supposed to say?
You can scream merd if you want. I won't snitch.
Merd, what's that mean?
You want to know what I think? How I feel? I think my friend may have slept with my husband. At least, I'm pretty sure she isn't pregnant with his baby, which isn't much now, is it? My husband is a selfish, pretentious, bloody sack of shite, and ugh! You know what? I don't give a flying fuck anymore! My God!
Well, that ain't good. Not giving a crap won't make the problem go away.
I'm going to ask him for a break, Zachary. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't a problem, but I just need to step back.
Fair enough. As long as you don't just up and disappear on him, I suppose.
Unless he makes me disappear.
Yes. Now can we please stop talking about him? Tell me more about your small, simple parties. Karaoke and dancing. How does that even go together?
Simple, really. We hope Ash doesn't take the mic, put on a bit of fun music, and just dance.
I want to see Ash trying to sing like McCullough tried to sing while she was drunk.
Not that I can, but there ain't nothing complex about it.
You can't be that bad.
I'm pretty good with the twist. Or that's what they tell me, at least. I think they're just being nice. I'm sure it just looks awkward.
Let's see here. I want to pick whatever's the negative option.
I've learned that men tend to exaggerate.
Nope.
You can't honestly be that bad, can you? At least you can cook, allegedly.
It said relationship change, but nothing actually happened.
You still bring no proof.
This party ain't exactly a potluck, is it?
True, true. Perhaps you can invite me to one of your simple parties. I will bring the cake.
Yeah, why not? But with a cake that big, like at your housewarming party, we'll be eating frosting for weeks. Maybe make it a little simpler and it's a deal.
Simple would be nice.
That was a nice little interaction, but we're not trying to get Hana with Zachary. I wish the same can be said about what I'm about to do. Get a new journal? In the aftermath of Rochelle's accusations, a devastated Hana was seen exiting the ballroom with Rebecca Gales and Zachary Steele. Hana was left in the care of the man when Rebecca had to go back to the party in search of Ashton, her purse. Now alone, the two had a talk, and both were smiling by the end of it. I wish the same can be said of what I'm about to do. Simple isn't the adjective I would use to describe the task at hand. Because really, how does one tell her husband that they want to separate and say that, no, this is not a divorce? Not yet, at least. The possibility is there. But still, how am I even going to explain to Luke without him throwing a fit? Cutting too deeply into my sausages, I opened my mouth to excuse myself. It is until I spy Luke mashing and stirring his poached eggs with a fork like a petulant child. He has been silent all the while, chin in his hand and elbow resting on the table. I worry that my absence at the debacle may have caused him more harm than good.
Luke?
It's not okay, it's you.
I think we need a bit of a break. You know, some time apart.
At my words, he grows still and silent. I'm not quite sure whether I should be worried or not. I take it as my cue to keep talking.
It's not permanent or anything like that. Just for a while. In a few days, perhaps. I was thinking I can move back into our penthouse in the meantime. But I won't be moving out right away. So that I can help settle everything here. And I haven't even thought of packing yet. And I'll want to ask Johans to assign some of our staff. Unless you want the penthouse anyway. Then I'll stay here instead.
No, you take the penthouse. It'll be easier for you.
It isn't supposed to be this easy, is it? Can he really react so aloof to it?
Isn't this to your liking? I imagine that you'd like the space and independence. You'll have the bed and covers to yourself, and you can have whatever you want prepared for meals.
This should make Luke's chapter a lot more interesting.
You can even have all the wine you want, though I'd rather that you don't.
This isn't about that, Hana. Well, it's partly that, but...
The man stops playing with his food, choosing instead to push the plate aside.
What's wrong, Luke?
He slumps back in his chair and just stops short of putting his feet up on the table. I suspect he's wanting some wine or absinthe by now, but any sort of alcohol is suspiciously absent in his hands.
Aside from that disaster yesterday and you telling me you want a divorce, everything is peachy keen. Will you want me to start in the letters then? To start the divorce settlements and whatnot? Will you be seeking ways to throw me out onto the street without a penny to my name?
No, Luke, this isn't a divorce. I just told you this is only temporary. Are you really having a sulk because of what she said yesterday?
I am having a sulk because you believe her. You stormed out and now you're asking for us to split up? Soon enough, you'll want to throw me out like I'm a piece of trash.
Do you think I would be this calm if I believed her, Lucille Mitchell, right? Because believe me, if I did, well, it wouldn't be pretty. Besides, I know how you feel about children. It makes her whole statement laughable.
I mean, accidents happen.
Sure, whatever you say.
His mouth draws into a thin line, and I can't bring myself to comment on his half-hearted reply. To me, the silence that follows feels oppressive. It only emphasizes the wall that has been built up by my obeisance and his hubris. It's an obeisance. And it looms between us, keeping us apart.
When are you leaving? In a week?
It won't take that long to pack. After All Saints, perhaps?
Is that what they call Halloween in Britain?
I'll go and inform the staff of this.
I don't think the staff needs to know. He only nods, and I'll be lying if I said that didn't disappoint me. You know how Luke is. This looks like a Sims emoticon. During breakfast, Hana asked Luke for a break. She'd be moving back to their penthouse for a couple of days. Despite trying to remain aloof, her husband accused her of wanting a divorce. Hana insisted she simply needed a break from him. I expect more resistance. The man could be stubborn as a mule if he wanted to be. Perhaps I can leave now, just to spite him. But that isn't like me. Even if this does end in divorce, a thing we both surely wish to avoid, we can still leave on amicable terms. There's no point in making a mountain out of a molehill.
What are you still doing here? Just leave. You still have some packing to do, don't you? Go ahead. I won't stop you.
He wants to. Go ahead. And do nothing. There isn't much to do, it seems, whenever I step up to the plate and try to take responsibility for something. Perhaps because everything is already being handled by someone hired specifically for that job. And with Johannes overseeing the staff and Luke handling everything else as a whole, that doesn't leave much for me. I can't even take the job of delegation, because all it takes is a word to shatter one of the senior staff, and everything will be taken care of. Moving in here a few days ago may have very well been the chore that took the most effort from me. That didn't take any real effort at all.
Yes, Hana, go buy a mansion in the middle of nowhere. Good idea. Great plan.
There are no dishes to set aside and busy myself with. Any mess left behind is now nearly non-existent. To sit on a counter while eating cake is supposed to be my next plan. Alas, there isn't even one to finish off, and I don't really know what brought me into the kitchens in the first place. It's not like I'm craving anything else, nor do I have any unfinished business left here. But there's a calling into this room. Speaking of calling, why not do just that? Might as well, since I have nothing else to do. At least that will require some effort on my part. With how cut off from the rest of Luxborn the mansion is, and with how long it was abandoned before I moved in, having a landline is out of the question. The solution, supposed to be, are mobile, so it isn't much considering how spotty the signal is in this area. I'll take a bit of maneuvering to get a single bar as it is. It takes a bit, as I said it would. I have to park my rear on one of the cool drawers, but that shoots me just fine. Another matter that needs my effort is who to call. She who must not be named is certainly off the list. That doesn't leave much in the category of close friends who attended the party, along with the category of who else is awake at this early hour, but soon enough I manage and the call goes
Hello,
through.
Rebecca Gales here.
Thought we'd get a choice and we could call Mary Ann, but we're calling Rebecca.
Who's this?
Good morning, Becky.
Look, our phone is yellow.
Hannah? Oh wait, how did you get my number?
Or is this a gold phone?
You responded to your RSVP through the phone. It's all saved in here, of course. I thought I'd like to say hi and make plans and get together sometime. Also, I'd love to hear news about your mother and father and about you, my dear. Oh, I hope I didn't wake you up.
Oh, you're good. It's sports day at school today, so I was just prepping for that.
Figures that you'd be a teacher as well. I'm sure your students must absolutely adore you.
Don't know about that.
Mathematics?
History, actually. Anyway, it's real nice to know you've got my number. I was going to ask for yours because Mom wanted to keep in touch.
You could have asked, silly girl. I would have gladly given it to you.
Couldn't, though, because, well, the thing that happened. But really am sorry, though. I gotta run. School, schedule, stuff. Is there anything else you want to say? Don't want to use the mobile while driving.
Oh, of course, of course. I shouldn't keep you. But I wanted to thank you for your company yesterday.
Not a problem.
I was hoping you could thank Zachary on my behalf as well. He was really kind and wonderful.
Well, you can tell him that yourself if you want. I can give you his number.
Oh, no, I don't want to be a bother. Intruding on his privacy.
Pretty sure he'd be fine with it. If you two are on a first-name basis and all.
Trying to force us down the Zachary
So
path.
his number, right, it's...
The ghost is interfering! She knows this isn't the ship we're going for. The call starts to go static, much to my frustration. A strange clicking noise drowns out most of her words, too. I can barely understand what she's saying. I understood it perfectly, and the line completely dies. I can feel a headache coming along. It's just building up, starting from a light throbbing on one side of my head. The static is gone, and that helps a lot, but there is still that incessant, horrible clicking. Again and again and again. Which doesn't make sense. The mobile's turned off, isn't it? And if it isn't coming from the phone, then where? Looking about, I can't help but let my eyes be drawn to the hatch leading to the wine cellar once more. That's when the clicking stops, and I hear that crying, that familiar crying from before. Hannah called Rebecca Gales, hoping to catch up with an old friend. The talk got interrupted by a horrible clicking and the cry of a woman from the wine cellar. What happened the other day when I was told that nobody should have been down there? I tried to forget it because of how it unsettled me so. One can hardly do that when I'm looking at the very thing I'm trying to forget. Somebody is crying down there again. But if I leave it alone, it simply won't stop bothering me for the rest of the day. Well, actually, shouldn't Mary Ann be down there now? They might have forgotten to lock it with the party going on.
Again! If somebody is pulling my leg, I will not be happy!
True enough, all it takes is a bit of a pull to open the hatch. As I look down into the cellar, a sense of uneasiness washes over me. It isn't just the sudden onset of vertigo and nausea, but also the darkness. It's suffocating. And as I look down, it feels as if it's looking back at me. I worry that something will suddenly pull me into the deep. The cries down beneath the shrieks start echoing in my head, high and shrill, the nails being dragged across a chalkboard. They're all screaming, shouting at me. And I can just feel her rage. Help me. She wants to drown me, drag me down, and crush me in the very depths of darkness until there's nothing left of me. The deep abyss waits for me, for my death. They're all calling for it. This is a nightmare. There's a rope around my neck, and I can feel the rest of me being torn apart. And they're still screaming. I'm screaming. Though it is not my voice that escapes my lips. It claws through, climbing up and forcing its way at my throat like a putrid bile. I choke and gag, yet I scream and shriek all the same. And I'm me, but I'm not me. It pushes me down to my knees before I'm prone and vulnerable on my stomach. It makes me tumble, and I can just feel my whole body seizing, writhing on the floor. Everything and nothing hurts. It feels like I'm on the verge of death. And I'm not dying. I nearly wish I actually am.
Hannah? Hannah, what is going on in there? Why are you?
Seeing Luke, something snaps back, and I'm able to take a gasp of air of my own volition for the first time in what felt like centuries. I would have rejoiced and cried his name if the pain still did not rack my body. Instead, all I can do is stare listlessly as he comes to my side and lifts me up, cradling me in his arms. He tries to get me to my feet, perhaps to take me out of here, but all he's able to do is get me to sit, make sure I'm not trashing on the floor. I think it's supposed to be thrashing. I can feel my muscles spasm, limbs jerking like a puppet's on a string. Luke holds me tight and keeps me still so that I do not hurt myself anymore. Whatever it is that is happening, it has my mind feeling frayed and battered. Eventually, the pain dies down into a dull ache, and my own tongue stops feeling like cotton. It's only now that I can feel the wetness on my cheeks, tears streaking down my face. A coughing racks my body now that I don't feel like choking, and it just feels so horrible. But I don't care. I don't care.
Please.
What happened here? Who did this to you?
I don't know. I'm so sorry.
Shh, it's all right. You're safe now, Hannah. You're safe now.
Zachary, I'm not sure if we're supposed to be possessed or not. So, we're gonna pause for a moment, because I think most of Zachary's chapter should be the same. I don't know what we're doing with Zachary. Zachary's gonna end up, like, single or something. Okay, so unpausing, we just got a call from Ash, telling us, and it says, Ash, it's 6 in the morning, sun hasn't risen, my brain even awake yet, what do you need? It's like, here, hold on, this can't wait till I'm actually awake, no, Rebecca's not. His voice hitches and I fail to catch the last of what he's saying over the sudden racket on the other side of the line. When the noise dies down, however, he does not continue. This abrupt change in tone, the unexpected hesitance to speak, puts me on the edge, and a different kind of anxiety clings to me. Something's wrong.
Here is where, Ash?
Ermengarde Memorial Hospital. ER. That guy's already there. I need to be off somewhere.
Nobody communicates. Like, yeah, just go to the hospital. It'll be like a fun surprise.
Just get there. Please.
He drops the call before I can ask more. Maybe it's just me or my sleep-addled brain, but in that short moment, he sounds almost as if he's pleading. The thought alone does not ease the lump of dread gripping my insides already heavy with fear. But despite the questions currently swimming inside my head, I waste no time in getting dressed. The rest of the day's plans and scheduled meetings effectively forgotten. Whatever lies ahead, I hope this ain't one of those times when my intuition is right. Hannah? That you? Where's your face? Senna hospitals never did grow on me. Too fresh, too medicinal, too sterile. If I'm to go down some morbid train of thought, I'd say the air smells a little like blood and death if one pays closer attention. It's not entirely terrible in itself. Just that scent alone is enough to bring about old memories, mostly unpleasant. I'm not saying the recent birth of my niece is one, of course. That has been a good milestone for both me and my sister's family. It's simply unfortunate that disinfectant has to be everywhere for something anyone wants to commit to memory.
Did Isabella ever feel this way when she visits her father?
Speaking of Isabella... The same odor assaults my senses as I make my way through the corridors in search of the emergency room. What's with this giant coffee machine looking thing? It's huge. Recently renovated, according to one of the guards, I asked for directions. Considering how long the place has been around, I'm not surprised they already made plans to modernize. Gotta keep up with the times, they say, especially for a place where lives are saved. I don't have the time to admire the new work, though. Soon the person I'm searching for comes into view. Rebecca's sitting still on one of the few benches lining the hall, her head bowed and her shoulders rising and falling in a slow rhythm with her breathing. A pile of papers and various other personal effects have been arranged neatly beside her. Wow, that's grim. Paper completely untouched. And is that blood on those? I try to ignore the foreboding feeling as it sends me as I reach for her and shake her awake.
Becca, I'm here. Wake up.
I don't know, I kind of feel bad waking her up. She opens her eyes at the second tap, along with a small yawn of her own. Would they really give us the blood-stained belongings? Like, wouldn't they, like, I don't know, bag those? In the hospital's bright lighting, the dark circles under her eyes are more noticeable. Her voice is still rough with sleep when she greets me.
Zach, did Ash call you in?
Pretty much. Woke me up, actually. Said it was urgent. What happened?
He didn't tell you?
Not really. He just said I needed to be. Is everything all right? It sounded pretty urgent when he called. The way that guy phrased it, I thought for sure you had gotten into an accident or something.
That's not typically how you say that. Like, oh yeah, Becca's already at the hospital. She's already there. Like, it doesn't really sound like she's been in an accident. Rebecca shifts in her chair, smooths a hand over her face, and lets out a sigh weighted enough with fatigue as she does so.
I'm sorry, Zachary. It's just been a long night. I don't really know how I'm supposed to break this to you. Ashton should be the one doing this, but...
It's apparently a cop thing.
The guy's busy again. No worries. You could tell me anything.
No, it's Isabella.
I'm afraid I can't quite follow, ma'am.
You weren't entirely wrong. But it wasn't me, obviously. Last night, she got into an accident. A car accident.
And her clothes changed color.
She was hurt pretty bad, and they had to rush her here.
A lump has suddenly lodged itself into my throat, making it difficult to get the next words out.
How bad exactly are we talking about here, Rebecca?
Critical. But I don't know. I didn't see her myself.
I did. She looked like she was dead.
When I came here, she was already in the ER. Has been since last night. The doctors haven't said anything since then.
And Ash?
He's looking into the crash. He hasn't called again, but he promised to keep us updated.
Another heavy sigh comes out of her. Abruptly, she stands and starts pacing, her trembling fingers laced tightly together in front of her. She continues for a good minute, treading the hall in short, uneven steps before stopping and pressing both of her palms over her eyes, as if that alone will be enough to stave off her exhaustion.
I called her out, you know? I promised I'll treat her to dinner if she gets out of her room.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rebecca.
I was only hoping it would cheer her up after the news. The one about her co-worker yesterday. And now, I should have just kept my mouth shut. If I did, then maybe she'd still be.
I know, she'd be in a lot worse shape, trust me.
Hey, don't blame yourself. You had no idea this would happen. An accident is an accident. If there's someone you should hold responsible for this, it's that ass who ran her over. Ash will find that guy, don't worry.
I wish it were that easy. God, it's one after another, Zachary. And no one will tell me anything.
I mean, I don't know how it is in Britain, but they typically don't tell non-relatives. And, like, she has no relatives nearby, so I don't know what they're gonna do about that.
I came in here asking for her, and all they said was, she's in critical condition, ma'am.
I'm surprised they'd even be able to say that much to non-families.
What are we supposed to do? I want to do something. I need to do something, but I can't. Not when she's still in there. Still fighting for her life.
I wish I could give her the answer she wants to hear right now. But that has always been the hardest part in circumstances like this. Always out of our control, always out of our hands. So there's nothing we can do. Perhaps that just hasn't sunken in yet. Or it's my own uneasiness over what's happening. But what comes out of my mouth next is one thing I soon come to regret the second it's in the open.
We can't really do anything about it right now.
She stares, glares if we're looking for the right word at me. And like this, it doesn't require too much of my imagination to see the teacher in her. All of a sudden I'm 12 again, getting a reprimand for slacking off for not paying attention, or doing something else in class.
There must be something, Zachary. We can't just...
Yet the way her voice falters tells a different kind of story. Rebecca's sharp. She knows. The moment she got here, she knows how much this whole thing teeters dangerously on the side of futile.
Look, Rebecca, I get you. I get how bad everything looks. I get how frustrated you are over this. But as much as I want to be useful, there's only a handful we can do right now. And if there's one thing situations like this has taught me, I think it's best to prepare for the worst.
I don't want to go there. Not yet.
I'm not saying we should. It's too early. I'd like to believe she'll make it through despite the odds, but these are pretty high odds. And you know what they say? The less you cling to it, the easier it'll be to accept. If she's...
It's a terrible thing to say in a situation like this.
Just in case.
We let the silence fall and the words hang between us, because the truth in those feels more tangible than what little hope we'd been clinging to. Somewhere far off the hall, I can almost hear the faint beeping of machines. Which one is Isabella's, I wonder? How is she doing? How long are we supposed to wait? Will she pull through? But it's always the waiting, isn't it? More than the fretting, it's always the long, excruciating hours that follows, blurring everything in between it and slowing it down. By the point we've both drank through our third cup of coffee, we've already lost track of the seconds, the minutes we've spent sitting here. There's no idle chatter between us, only companionship and what little support we could give each other. Which is not much, considering how long the two of us have known each other. Better for Ash to be here instead of me. Or Isabella, if only she didn't have a different battle to fight right now. Then again, we won't be here if she ain't. When the door finally creaks open and a voice calls for us, none of the world shifts back into focus the way I'm expecting it would. It's Rebecca who handles it with much patience and tact while I sit on the sides. It's her who faces the nurse, who listens to him, who nods, and wordlessly follows when he gestures for us to do so, all in spite of the weariness beating down on her. A different kind of burden now, after that talk. I'm almost too afraid to ask. I mean, hey, considering how she looked in the CG, she's looking pretty decent here. She loved this room. The moment the nurse opens the door and the soft, late morning sunlight greets us from the sole window, I know she would. It might be a little inappropriate to think about, but if she's well, Isabella would say the same thing. Zachary received an alarming phone call from Ashton telling him to go to Ermengarde Memorial Hospital immediately, and exhausted Rebecca informed him that Isabella got into a car accident. In a critical state, she had been put into an induced coma to keep her alive. She has, after all, always favored the sun. Reminds her a little of home, she said. It reminds me a little of her, too, to be frank. In the background, the heart monitor blips faintly in a steady rhythm. She's not an easy sight to see. Covered in bandages, a thick cast on her leg and neck. You cannot see her leg. And all these wires and tubes attached to her. It's like, there's like one. She looks nothing but frail like this. And still. Too still. She's never still, and yet here she is, her breathing too quiet for comfort, even as the ventilator pumps oxygen into her.
They have to keep monitoring her.
But she's okay now? We'll just have to wait?
Not exactly. She isn't out of the woods yet.
But alive, right? I mean, she's here. Even with all this stuff attached to her, she's gonna be fine, yeah?
She lets out a breath, probably the 13th one since I joined her here, and flops unceremoniously on a nearby chair. Carefully, she reaches up and gives Isabella Band's hand a light squeeze. I'm not sure if that's meant to be encouragement for the patient or her. But for all her hesitance, I'm glad it's Rebecca who has to break whatever this news is. If this is Ashton, he'd drop it without any sort of preamble. No, he'd tell us to go find out for ourselves. For a detective looking to get answers, it works. For people waiting on the edge, it doesn't always.
I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. The doctors, they had to put her in an induced coma. They had to, after the seizures. It wasn't looking good. Something about the trauma and the head injury from the accident did that. I know I should have listened better. I'm sorry, Zachary. Half of it didn't even sink in.
Can't believe we didn't go with her.
All I understood was she's on life support now, but they aren't expecting her to make it. Her chances aren't good from the start.
I know I said we should prepare for the worst, but that's still... Someone has got to tell them they can't just...
I did, all right? Already did. I told them to get their asses together. Even made a promise to try.
But you mentioned they still have to monitor her. That means they haven't given up on her, right?
They haven't. I insisted. But with how things are, they said she might never wake up. And if she ever does, she might not be the same anymore. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I was angry when I told them that, and it just came out of my mouth. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have just let them...
You did the right thing, Rebecca.
You don't know that. What if she doesn't want this? Do you see all of these? Wires and tubes and bandages everywhere. She's barely herself, clinging to dear life as it is. She can't even hear us. Doesn't even know there are people here worried sick for her.
The point is she's still here. Don't beat yourself up over what ifs. This ain't over for her, alright? I've seen people recover from even worse. Have some faith in her.
I do have faith in her.
You know what? I think this is just a lack of sleep talking. You been here since when? Last night? Go get some rest, Miss Gales.
But Isabella's...
I'll take care of her, don't you worry. We can do shifts if you want, but go home first. We'll talk about that later when you ain't looking like you're about to fall apart. If you keep going like this, you're the one who'll end up here next.
The rebuttal I'm expecting from her, for even suggesting the idea, doesn't come. To my surprise, she merely chuckles.
This feels like a conversation I had with Isabella a few days ago. I said the exact same thing to her.
Then maybe it's a sign you should rest. Let me take over from now.
Maybe. But I'll keep that in mind. Are you sure you'll be fine alone? I'll come back this evening. So if you need anything picked up, I can get it for you.
Nah, no problem on that front. Besides, if I do need something, my apartment's just a few blocks away. Skipping a hop, that's all I need. Focus on getting some sleep. Let me take care of this for a few hours. Do it for everyone's sake,
We'll do. Thanks, Zachary. If something changes with her, promise me you'll call.
You'll be the first one to know, ma'am. Well, if it comes to that. I hope the news I bring will be better than the one we got this morning. Crazy thing having to wake up to this.
I hope so too. I'll see you later.
And birds are still swinging by. Rebecca manages a weak smile before turning and heading out of the room. I hope this actually changes the story and it's not just all the same dialogue, but just she's not there. When the door clicks shut behind her, it does so with little finality. Like saying this won't be the last, that our stay here won't be as brief as we're all hoping. Beside me, the beeping from the machines remains unceasing. The distinct familiar scent pervading the room persists as it wraps itself into the room's only occupants. Altogether, a different memory burns itself in my mind. There is something personal in the melody slowly threading itself into my consciousness. A hum, pleasant in every note, lingers in the air and carries with every shift. It reminds me of our room, of a little place my sister and I once called home, and of a promise made several springs ago, back when our walls were bare and everything was still foreign and new. The soft rustling wakes me long before I can fully remember. Someone is speaking in the room, in hushed whispers, muttering words like a secret not meant for my ears to hear.
This is stupid.
Oh, that's Ash. I thought it was going to be the doctors being like, this is stupid, we can't save this girl. I was about to get real mad. It takes a little while for the recognition to sink in and remind myself where I am. But sure enough, when I shift my gaze up, Ashton's there, leaning casually against the edge of the bed, arms folded across his chest while sporting a pensive expression on his face. I'd say it's close to wistful, but this is Ash. And with the room's lights dimmed down, one really can't tell.
Hey, Ash.
If my sudden movement surprised him, it only shows in the slight lifting of his eyebrows before he acknowledges me with a small nod.
How long have you been here?
Just came in a few seconds ago.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you.
Figures. It's not a problem. You probably need to rest anyway.
You're the one talking. You look like shit.
So I've been told.
Seriously, how long have you been up?
18, 20 hours or so? It doesn't matter. I'll get some shut-eye later. Where's Rebecca?
I sent her home early, but she'll be back too.
Both of us turn just in time to see Rebecca ease the door open and step inside. She brought a traveling bag with her, and from the way she transfers its load to her other hand, it's heavy enough with things for maybe 2 or so days worth of sleeping out. I don't know what to say to that, quite frankly, or if I'm even supposed to question her about it. Ashton, no doubt, has a remark or two about it, but before any of us could comment, she raises a hand to stop us.
It's not mine.
3 words, and they are telling enough. Just like that, an awkward silence descends in the room. All of a sudden, just the mention of her has become sort of a taboo between us. Funny, when she's lying just a few inches away from us. God knows if she's even aware of us. Even in this quiet, I can hear her laughing. We're making a big deal out of this, she'll say. It isn't anyone's fault, but it's obvious that one way or another, each of us hold our own selves responsible for what happened, however irrational that sounds. Plenty of what-ifs, should-haves, and could-haves going around. It's almost stifling.
Always prepared, ain't you?
I just packed what she'll be needing for a few days. I figured it'll be easier for me to bring her things since I live next door. Go take a break now, Zachary. I'll stay with her until tomorrow when her aunt gets here.
What exactly did you bring? She's unconscious.
She's flying over from the other side of the country. Heard she had to file a leave to get here as soon as possible. Oh, what a mess all of this is.
I wonder what the relative is gonna do, though. Like, maybe she just wants to see her, but...
Don't you have class tomorrow? You sure about that?
I can always call for a leave, too. I've got plenty, since I rarely ever use those. Someone has to stay here after...
No, I'll take it from here.
It's not that his offer is in any way unexpected. It is not even in the way he delivers it. Ash may seem distant to other people, rude to some, downright embarrassing to a few, but to those he keeps close, I'm positive he'll never hesitate to show some willingness to help. He cares, he really does, simply in his own, unorthodox way. I'm sure Rebecca's aware of this too, more than anyone. But the tight expression on her face, her strained grip on the bag, and the stiff line on her shoulder suggest a different kind of understanding. Even in the sharp, biting tone her voice takes, despite the meaning in her words.
You don't have to do that. Zachary and I can handle this for a few days.
Both of you already had your turn with this. It wouldn't hurt to have another person helping out.
This isn't some sort of a competition, Ash. We're doing this because someone has to be here for her.
And it's not going to be you, Ashton Frey.
I'm not making this one. I just volunteered, didn't I?
Don't you have an investigation to finish?
And Zach has freelance gigs in line for the next few days. You have students to teach.
I don't think there is one, but it'd be interesting if there was an ending where she pulls the plug just so they can't hook up.
Don't push it, Becca. All three of us have things to take care of on our own. But between us, it should be easier to find some time to...
Fine. Good.
Her voice is almost too quiet, like the calm on the eve of a brewing storm.
Do what you want.
She doesn't give him a chance to get another word in. In 3 steps, she closes the distance between them and hands him the bag, with a little more force than necessary, in my opinion. Then, with nothing more than a sharp glare at him, she marches out the door. Maybe it's just me, but in the brief instant our eyes meet, hiding behind that flash of anger is hurt. Did something happen when I wasn't looking? It certainly doesn't seem that way from the way Ash is acting.
You go ahead, Zach. I'll take over for now.
You sure this is fine?
Yeah, sure. It's not like this is a hard task. I'll probably get more sleep here than if I stay at the precinct or in my car. I'll call when something changes with Isabella, if that's what you're concerned about.
You ain't worried?
About what?
I'd say Rebecca, but he doesn't seem to have noticed earlier's exchange. Regardless, I'm not the kind of person who finds joy in prying, and it's certainly none of my business. On top of that, we have Isabella here, bedridden. Rebecca's right. It's one problem after another, and to be truthful, I kind of want to ask for a little breathing room already. But that ain't how it goes. Always goes, ain't it?
This, everything, the accident, I don't know. You tell me. You were there, weren't you?
It gives him a pause, his hand stopping short of placing the bag on the table. Judging by the conflicted look on his face, he doesn't know how to respond to that. Yet.
About this, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. I'll find out myself who did this and make sure that bastard gets his just desserts.
From the hospital room.
So you do have an idea who?
Vaguely, but nothing conclusive yet.
Trying to say it's Luke? Luke just randomly decided to run her down with his car?
I'd rather not say anything until we've got everything sorted out. It's a huge mess. This and that other case, it might even be related for all we know. Thinking about it gives me a headache.
He lifts a hand and pinches the bridge of his nose. His eyes are squeezed tight in what's perhaps a struggle not to overthink, or keep whatever frustration he feels at a considerable distance, preferably far enough so he can think clearly. When he's like this, it's better to leave him alone with his thought. But as I'm about to pull the door open, ready to make my leave, he calls out.
Do me a favor, Zach. Make sure you keep away from the right this time. Tell Rebecca the same thing.
The name rings a bell, though at present I can't recall where I've heard it recently. Nevertheless, I nod, if only to give him some peace of mind. This guy already has enough on his plate.
I'll remember that. See you later.
If you catch up to Becca, make sure she gets home safe.
Will do. Go get some sleep yourself.
I throw him one last look, even though at this point I'm not sure what I'm searching for in his face. Reassurance, some sort of encouragement or proof that everything will be alright? I won't dare ask anymore. Not when he's doing this, looking forlorn like he's failed a lot of people. One person in particular. With one last wave, I close the door behind me, leaving wishes of hope and a whole slew of unspoken remorse and concerns in the room. Zach volunteered to watch over Isabella while Rebecca got some rest. That night, Ashton and Rebecca visited and ended up in an argument over who should take over the watch for Zach. In the end, Rebecca stormed out and left an insistent Ashton to it. My apartment is more than a welcome sight after everything. Although it's small and begs for a little cleaning and repair, at the end of the day, it's the closest thing I have to respite. Sure, my sister would have a thing or two to say about the mess every time she visits, but it's still home to me. A mild draught sweeps into the room as I close the door behind me, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. This is the same list. And now with what happened to Isabella, something to temporarily take my mind off things. A lone note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion, H. Wright, 11 a.m. After Ashton's warnings, they hold a different meaning now. I'm not sure what we're looking at. Oh, this, I guess. After Ashton's warnings about the couple, he now felt anxious about the whole thing. Hey, looking at the photos of Hannah that got all weird. Show the photos to Ash. I think we won't show them to Hannah unless we're trying to romance Hannah. Won't change what happened to Isabella. But she certainly won't wish for anything to happen to us either. Luxmore is a relatively peaceful city boosting a low crime rate. Its precinct stays abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs from people outside the lobby. This is all the same stuff we've had.
Not even for just 1 minute?
No.
You were the...
Why do you even bother?
Well,
Right. They've got the money.
That takes
And a smart person. In any case, I've got to get going. Murders, people miss.
you and me both. Sorry, I haven't gotten a chance to check any of my messages yet. I was looking up something.
Although underneath all that, there's something else too, hiding subtly in the dark circles under his eyes, his slumped posture, and partly unkempt appearance.
You sure you can still step out like that?
Yeah, no problem. I need to get out anyway. What are you doing here in the first place?
Well, I was hoping you could check something for me, but you don't appear to be.
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards their very irked receptionist. For no reason, I have
Over
no
lunch.
question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Saluted not to be disturbed by lunch hour rush or over her break, curious bystander. See, this is the same
Any news?
dialogue.
Any news about Bella's condition?
He pauses, the fork stilling halfway to his mouth, like they could have skipped the beginning stuff. Ash is far from the most open person in the world. Even to us, the people he's already let see past the cold and distant persona, there are some things he keeps safely tucked away to himself. In that one unguarded second, though, a pained expression shoots across his features, when he doesn't bother hiding under his usual mask of detachment. I'm not sure why, of all things, happening right now. I find that alone unnerving.
No change since I left yesterday. Rebecca visited last night. Said something about an aunt taking things from here. I didn't hear most of it. I was needed back at the precinct, but I'll probably drop by again later to see if I can help.
I think it's the one who helped to get the job at BRC.
Really? I only just found out. I thought Isabella was living alone all this time.
I mean, she technically is.
Well, I assume since Becca is her emergency contact.
She is living alone, technically.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Her aunt's working pretty far from here. She only mentioned her in passing before. Can't very well help their family when her aunt has her own set of mouths to feed. Bella had to be the one to take the job. Something like that. And it ain't even like she'd want someone else to do the work. If she can, she'll do it herself.
She's stubborn, that's what she is.
You shouldn't talk.
He gives a non-committal hum and returns to his food. Hasn't even taken a bite when he lets out another yawn.
You look like you're about to pass out.
I'll be fine. What I'm doing is more important.
Don't you think you need to slow down for a little?
He laughs, the mirth more from the incredulity of my suggestion than any amusement he finds in a friend worrying for his well-being.
You aren't seriously asking me that.
Maybe I am. Think of it this way. If it's Rebecca who's asking, oh, she won't be as nice as I am.
That's low, Zach.
Sure it is. I'd hate to bring Rebecca into this, but if I can't reason with him, she sure as hell can. That alone seems to knock some sense into him, though if the horrified look on his face says something.
I'm just giving you your options.
Yeah, I get it. I'll see what I can do after this.
Are things really that bad?
You're looking at me right now? What do you think?
Cut back on the sarcasm, Ash. I really want to know what's happening here.
Let's put these two up a little more. Ash drags both his hands down his face and lets out a huff, weighted with every frustration he's carrying in him. For an instant, he opens his mouth to say something, probably to argue, but hastily decides against it.
Traffic cams were useless. And those were supposed to be high def to begin with. Damn, huge waste of taxpayers' money when we can't even use it when we need it. The people at Tech have been at it since we got hold of the footage. And all they managed to salvage with a scant few seconds before she crossed the road. How does that help?
Well, there must be some use in that alone. Like, maybe someone pushed her?
There was no one else. She just stopped right in the middle of the road. Just right in the fucking middle. It's like there was something there that prevented her from crossing. I just don't know what. Zach, Isabella's not that stupid. There was something there. That's what made her stop, and the traffic cams didn't catch it. Something.
Abruptly, he trails off and gapes at me with wide eyes as if something just snapped properly back into place inside his
Or
mind.
someone. Someone was there.
Actually, if we're going to talk about someone, maybe this has something to do with it as well.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. Yeah, we already did this about the thing.
Hannah, right?
Oh, how did you...
The locket. Evan's family heir.
This is still the
You
same
never
dialogue.
mentioned you got work from them.
Yesterday, yeah. But see, here's... Remember the...
Please tell me this isn't...
No, Ash, you...
I am listening. These are some blurred out...
You're the photographer here. I don't see...
I know what you...
Oh, same dialogue.
Ash, yesterday...
Hannah?
What?
I thought you...
That's... I get it, but I've got to put food on my table.
I didn't say you
I wasn't...
And this...
It was... You think I'd go out of my way?
And you think the right...
I did.
If you understood that, Luke, fuck it. Keep hanging around this case.
Will you stop talking? Why do you think...
Don't you dare bring her into this. We're talking about you and this stupid.
Why do you think Isabella's? Oh, of course you don't want to talk. You can't figure out. You can't figure out the bastard who did it because of your own fucking incompetence.
I'm pretty sure this is the same thing from if she gets murdered, but...
Ash, dude.
You said it. You shouldn't be running blind. Call this guy. He'll be less inclined to shout at you. Might even talk some sense into you.
Okay, now we're gonna go talk to the professor. Got the invitation to the party. More nightmares. This is where we meet Kylie.
You ain't the only one stuck.
Oh, that was all the same.
I never want to wake up to that kind of thing again. Finding out one of my friends was left for dead in the middle of the street. One person is enough.
This is still better than having no other course of action, yeah?
So this is before we go to the mansion. I was about to argue for a moment,
Look,
but...
bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the
So head to the mansion. We're not gonna break in, of course. No, we don't actually have the mansion. We do a quick time event. Looking for Ash. Last I heard him speak like that, a friend ended up fighting for her life in the hospital. Now she's still in a coma.
I'll be there in a few.
Okay, so we're gonna end this part here. Oh well, we'll just let it skip. So, end this part here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!